Hello, Game Boys and Game Girls. I'm the Game Boy Guru, and welcome to episode 3 of
Dramatic Readings!
In this series, you'll get to watch footage of me playing a Game Boy game while you listen to my dulcet tones as I read my review of the game to you, gently lulling you into a state of euphoria. I hope you enjoy it. This is Tetris.
Every video game console has at least one game that defines it. One title that, above any other, people associate with it. For modern consoles, it's often a launch title that soars above the rest in quality, or a later game that is exclusive to that system. Usually, it's a great game that is universally hailed as something special. For early consoles, that game often happened to be the pack-in title, meaning the game that came with the system when you bought it. In the case of the Game Boy, that game was Tetris. The thing about Tetris, however, is that it's not just a quality pack-in title. It was a mission statement. It was the perfect representation of the hardware's untapped potential and the kind of game that could sell a Game Boy to even the most ardent anti-video game folks out there. Why, you ask? The answer is quite simple. Tetris is fun for all ages. Read that statement again, because I don't say it lightly. Your parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles may have no interest in blowing up aliens, stomping on walking mushrooms, or other such things, but a game with jigsaw-like puzzle pieces that move, and you have to put them in order to eliminate them from the screen? Most anyone can get on board with that. Large numbers of people did. Unless you were alive and invested in video games in the mid to late 1980s, it's hard to truly explain the mania surrounding Tetris. It was a craze, and nearly everyone was affected by it. The storied battle between Tengen, with Atari, and Nintendo over the rights to Tetris on the Nintendo Entertainment System is better documented elsewhere. But suffice to say, history proves that Nintendo won the battle, at least from a legal standpoint. The game, upon a release on the NES and in the arcades, became a huge hit, and Nintendo, having scored the rights to the game on the NES, scored a major coup on the home console front. That coup was further cemented by the inclusion of Tetris as the pack-in game for the original Game Boy. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get good figures for the sales of the Game Boy with the included Tetris pack-in, because sales of the Game Boy Pocket and Color models are lumped in with the original white brick version in all official sales statements, but sales of Tetris itself were upwards of 35 million units. So if the 118.69 million Game Boy family systems sold worldwide from 1989 to 2003, we can link over one-fourth of those sales in some measure to the popularity of Tetris. Playing this game again the last few days in preparation for this write-up, it struck me just how much I enjoyed it. I recalled dedicating hours mastering the 4-line technique and feeling a huge sense of victory anytime I topped 100,000 points. As a youth, I worked my way up to being able to start on level 7 or 8 and maximizing my scoring potential. Having not played Tetris seriously in years, I'm not at that level any longer, but I was surprised that after a couple practice runs, I was starting at level 5 or 6 and having some success in getting scores upward of 60 or 80,000 points and toppling the 100,000 mark a few times. As they say, it's just like riding a bicycle. You never forget how, so just get on and ride. I'll attempt to succinctly describe the gameplay. You control a single, slowly falling geometric shape called a tetramino, and can move it left or right, rotate it to the left or right, and press down on the D-pad to drop the piece to the bottom of the playing field, or atop another piece. Each of these tetramino pieces is made up of 4 smaller squares, and pieces range from a large square to a long/tall line to pieces where the squares are more bent in shape. The grid you play in is 10 squares wide and nearly 20 squares high. As tetramino pieces fall, you place them on the playfield in any order you wish, with the goal being to create a single contiguous horizontal line made of tetramino pieces. If you can manage to create a 4-line sequence at one time using the 4-square tall line block, you score a big point bonus. This 4-line clear, called a Tetris, is the key to getting a high score in the game, and is also the linchpin to the game's deceptive simplicity. Each time you complete 10 lines, the game's level increases and the pieces fall faster. Each time the level increases, the score multiplier for clearing single lines and Tetris clears goes up. Thus, if you start the game at a higher level to begin with, you start with that level's speed, but also its score multiplier until clearing enough lines to go to the next level up from where you started. Graphically, the game is not by itself impressive. Compare it to the graphics on the NES, and the Game Boy's 4 Shades of Green palette didn't impress much, and the sprites themselves were comparable, though obviously scaled back. Context is important, however, and compare the graphics to what we had become used to in portable gaming with Nintendo Game & Watch devices or the Tiger series of dedicated LCD handhelds, and it was a technical wonder. Pieces fell and actually animated if you rotated them, or fell smoothly when you used the D-pad to drop them down to the bottom of the playfield. In addition, the minor animations of Mario and Luigi in 2-player mode, or the taking off of the rocket if you scored 100,000 points or more in a single play, were something that, up to that point, hadn't been possible in a handheld gaming device. The graphics are largely utilitarian, but looking back, they're perfect for what the game is. The game's sound and music is iconic, so it's hard to talk about it without talking about the game's music track. We all know that Type A sounds like a Russian melody, and that's because it was apparently based on a Russian folk song. Type C is based on a piece by Johann Sebastian Bach, which gives it that classical sound. Type B, however, is a wholly original tune, and composer Hirokazu Tanaka managed to also channel that Russian folk vibe to great effect. Add the bouncy title screen theme, the high score music, and the triumphant music that plays as the rocket launches, and despite its diminutive size, the score is as well composed as one could hope for. Sounds are also iconic, with the funny block rotation sound and the nice slap sound when you drop a piece to the bottom. The subtle single-line clear noise and the not-so-subtle Tetris clear noise, as well as the "I'm dead" sound that plays once you get a game over by filling up the playfield. They're not the best sounds you can produce on the hardware, but for an early title, they're still impressive. As I mentioned earlier, the ability to manage your pieces on the playfield and line them up to achieve a Tetris is truly the technique that needs to be mastered to get the most out of the game. Based on the pieces that fall, I generally try and choose either the right or left side of the board to leave open, stack up pieces to make a complete 4-line or higher group, and leave the space for the 4-square line piece to complete that Tetris and score big points. As pieces fall and you place them, you have to be cognizant of all 7 pieces available, because you might get 3 big squares in a row, or the L and J pieces, and have nowhere to put them. This puzzle piece management is of the utmost importance. Otherwise, you'll find yourself expending available lines to clear away ill-placed pieces rather than making Tetris blocks. To increase the challenge, you can press the select button during gameplay to turn off the preview of what the next piece will be, which removes your ability to plan ahead by a move. It seems surreal to talk about Tetris on the Game Boy more than 25 years after its release. It's difficult to pinpoint what it is about the game that makes it so addictive. I picked it up a couple of days ago, intending to play a round or two, and before I knew it, I had burned over 2 hours playing without even realizing it. That's much of what the game has going for it, that deceptive simplicity and addictive gameplay. That addictive quality is only part of the game's appeal, and hopefully I've illustrated that above. Make no mistake, if you own an original Game Boy Pocket, or even a newer Game Boy Color or Advance, you owe it to yourself to play the original Tetris release, because it's just one of those games every gamer should experience. Essential.
And there you have it, folks. Tetris, the pack-in title for Nintendo's little handheld game console that could. A game that challenged the notion that video games are just for kids during an era where that was largely the mantra held by adults, and helped cement Nintendo as the reigning kings of dedicated portable game consoles, a position they continue to hold nearly 3 decades later. What did you guys think? What are your memories of Tetris? And when was the first time that you played it? Is it a game that still holds a place in your heart, or that you have fond memories of? Or are you new to the Game Boy scene, and is Tetris something that you've only recently discovered through newer iterations like Puyo Puyo Tetris on the Switch, for example? Let me know in the comments section below. And in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for playing, and game on.